Welcome to the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Hope you're not getting too tuckered out there, grabbing presents and getting ready for the season. But if you are, then more power to you because it is the season. Well, here we are with another case of grand jury turning over the decision to actually indict people that go around murdering other people. Enter the Eric Garner case. You know, we really haven't stopped rocking and reeling over the Brown case, and now here we're headlong into another one. And in the not too foreseeable future, the Ohio case with the 12-year-old kid that was gunned down by police officers, well, when they send that to trial and they overturn that one and free these murderers, and there will be more marching. I don't know, what's going on with the fabric of this country, but then again, I do know, because what's going on now is not something that hasn't been going on in the past, and that's blatant racism. And there is a problem with it in this country. There always has been, and there always will be, because people don't know how to seemingly know how to get together and work on things. It's easier to hate. It's easier to kill. It's easier to let the people off that do the killing. Because I don't care how heinous the crime is. If it's a white person doing it, seemingly they just get carted off to jail. But the most simplistic of crime, if it's a black person doing it, they get shot. They get killed. And it's been like that for a long, long time. And do I see it changing? No, not really, because it isn't fashionable to do so. So here we are, a country with a big mess. Then you got your whingers out there, your whinging gas bags, that'll sit there, oh, well, those officers were justified in doing what they were doing. Case in point, whenever one of these things takes place, immediately the black person's past is delved into with a great tenacity to find out all of the wrong things they did in their life, from crapping in their diapers to jaywalking across the street. But yet, the officer that does the killing, very seldom, is his past looked into with great scrutiny. Again, I say, do you have to kill the person? If you look at this tape of Eric Garner's, there were about 3 or 4 officers converging on him. He's backing up, trying to plead his case. And then one grabs him around the throat and just, it's a wonder they didn't go through the plate glass window that they were standing by. Because if you notice, they bump it and it quivers. But anyway, they got him down to the ground. And then one officer just had both of his hands on the guy's head, just smashing it to the ground. I mean, you wouldn't treat a dog like that. Well, they probably would, because I've got another case to briefly touch on after this. But you wouldn't treat a dog like that. And yet you treat a person in such a way, it's crazy. And then this stupid police union's president or whatever. Oh, well, if you can breathe, if you can say I can't breathe, then you can breathe.
If you can talk, you can breathe.
Thanks, Chris. If you can talk, you can breathe. I mean, what an asinine jackass that is. Let's say somebody put him in a chokehold, and you can talk. But the man saying he can't breathe when you're doing an illegal chokehold on the person in the first place, then, that should have been it. But no, it wasn't. They choked him until they killed him. oh no, he's a big fat man. He had problems with asthma. He had problems with his heart. He had problems with his respiratory system anyway. So he probably would have died. The police didn't kill him. His obesity killed him. His asthma killed him. Bullshit. The man had been living a long time. He was a grandfather, for goodness sake. Okay, so obviously his obesity and his asthma and his respiratory problems didn't, inhibit him that much. It's, quite strange that he died at the hands of another person or persons. So, I mean, all of these whinging gas bags, are just idiots. And if they think that we're going to believe this crap, that makes them even more idiots. Now, what I told you I was going to touch on, here in California, there was a false call went out to, I think it was the sheriff's department, not LAPD, but the sheriff's department. And they answered the call. It was about domestic violence. Well, the house they went to, there was just this lady, a single lady, and she lived with, she was there with her dog. The dog was pregnant, it was a female dog. And so they went to the place. There was a big sign on the gate says, "Beware of dog." It was a pit bull mix, I think. And there's a big sign there, "Beware of dog." Well, they just opened the gate. They went and knocked on the door to, answer this supposed, alleged, as they say, domestic violence call. Didn't get an answer at the door right away. So then they went on around back of the house. Well, they went around far enough to meet up with the dog. Now, mind you, they trespassed. Well, not trespass, because if they're answering a call in the line of duty, it's not trespassing. But still, if there's a sign on the gate that says "Beware of dog," then I would, use my common sense. But anyway, they went on this lady's property, I'll put it that way, and encountered her dog. And naturally the dog, seeing that it's a strange person in the yard, attacked. And instead of, taking the billy stick or something to guard themselves and push the dog away, their knee-jerk reaction, pull out a gun, pow, kill the dog. So now the lady is without her dog, she's without her puppies. And she was very saddened by that. Then they found out that the call that they, went on, and all this subsequently happened, was a false one. The best they could say was, "Well, I'm sorry about your dog."
They don't bring him back to life.
Doesn't bring the dog back to life. So, I mean, all they think about is gun. And all they think about is shoot to kill. So, as a black person, especially a black male in this country, do I feel as though I have a bullseye on my head? Yes, I do. Because I feel if I encounter a police officer, if I put my hands up, if I lay down on the ground after they, tell me to get out of the car, well, they're probably going to shoot me anyway, because it's within them to shoot me, being a black male. Oh, I don't know why you feel like that, Phil. Rodney King, of late, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, and the little kid in Ohio. I forgot what his name is. I know his last name. I think his last name is Rice. Why shouldn't I feel that way? If it's a white person doing God knows what, they'll tackle him to the ground. They'll bring him up, slap the clinks on him. In a squad car, he goes off to the station. If it's a black person doing the same thing, bam, he's dead. Into the meat wagon, off to the graveyard he goes. That's the system here. And then when it's brought to these grand juries, oh, they acted in the line of duty. They did what they were supposed to do. Free them. That's the norm in this country. But again, the whinging gas bags will come in and say, "Oh, I don't know why they're marching up down the street. They're stupid for doing that." Well, if it's so wrong, then why are people in the foreign countries now picking up picket signs and marching in the streets? Think about that one. Now, let's talk about this marching business. It's okay to march and protest if you're doing it for a specific reason. Okay, black people are getting killed. Isn't that sorrowful enough without these idiot marchers, not the ones that are out there for their specified purpose that are actually trying to make a difference. I'm talking about these idiot ones who are going around burning down black businesses, looting black businesses, looting businesses, period, and burning things and destroying things. Does that not add credence to the bastards that are already thinking ill of us as black people in the first place? Hello? We're trying to make people understand that we as a black people have a legitimate reason not to be killed by cops or anybody else for that matter. But if you go around being opportunists and giving them credence, that makes the fight, everybody's fight, meaningless. You know, our grandmother had a saying that, she had lots of sayings, but the two that come to mind in this instant is, if you're seeing that your future isn't as bright as it could be, maybe you should look to see that you're not standing in your own self's light. I see many folks, you know, putting down black folks, and I see many black folks talking about what the white folks have done, and if the white folks wouldn't we wouldn't be where we are, and they're keeping us back. And well, let's face it, folks, and this is not indicative of all folks of the Caucasian persuasion, but a great number, and anybody, you know, listening to this would realize that. Some white folks are going to be hating black folks as long as black folks are around to be hated, and vice versa, if you will look at it that way. But I say it the way I said it the first way because white folks have always been the folks in power. White folks have been the folks that own most everything. And it's still true today. How many black people do you have to really look up to? You know, everything that is of a cultural, you know, high-end cultural type thing, you look to the white folks. Look at sports, the world of auto racing, NASCAR, NHRA. Mostly white folks. Driving, going to see it, working on the cars, what have you. You know, you look at people like Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X, and while I may or may not agree with all that they say or have said, I do agree with this. Stop whinging, stop gasbagging about what white folks have done to black people. It's time for black people to get off their knees and hustle. Why is it that we have Warren Buffett? Why is it we have Donald Trump? Why is it we have Bill Gates and all of these people to look up to as being multi-billionaires and, you know, captains of industry in their given fields? Why is it that we have to look at people like Clyde V. Cessna? Maybe some of you will know who that is, maybe you won't. He's the man who developed the general aviation small airplane, the greatest in history. William Boeing, 747s, 787s. Why do we look at people like Walter P. Chrysler, Henry Ford? I know you know who that is, the guy who drives, you know, makes the cars, Ford Mustang and all those Model Ts. Why do we look at these people as being such captains of industry? Everything in this country wasn't invented by a white man. But yet, 150, 175 years after we were brought to this country as slaves, we haven't progressed very far. Why? Why is it that every other nationality can come to this country and prosper, yet we remain stagnant, still talking about what the white man is doing to us? Because these people stick together. The white man sticks together, and they build, they develop, and they grow. We don't. We have never stuck together as a people. Systematically, when one black person gets up, he either pushes the other one down, Or just gets amnesia and says, oh, I didn't know they were back there. That's why we're behind the 8 ball. Not so much so of what the white man is doing to us, but what we're doing to ourselves. There is more to black life than rapping and pimping and drugging and ganging. There's more to black life than that. And if we can be that industrious on those 4 areas, or in those 4 areas, then why in the hell can't we be more industrious in building something that is of a grand and concrete nature? Yeah, marching up and down the street is okay. But why can't we as a black people get a coalition together? I know all you rich black folk out there, Oprah Winfrey, Denzel Washington, Magic Johnson, Colin Powell, you know, all these rich muckety mucks that are black. Why don't they get around the table and say, let's put money in this. Let's reinvest in black America. Open up academies in the field, if you want to go into sports or politics or film industry or the recording industry or the political industry, or just being out there helping other young black people up. Gangs should not be the only thing a black person wants to aspire to. Something concrete that not only helps himself or herself, but her or himself as a people. And if the federal government isn't going to do it, and you know they're not, then we have to do it ourselves as a people. And stop blaming the white folks, because white folks going to be hating niggas as long as there's niggas for white folks to hate. I'm just breaking it down to what it is. No matter what you do, they're not going to like you, the vast majority of them. So I wouldn't even care. How much do I like myself? That's what I'm going to care about. And am I giving them, this is what our grandmother's other saying, am I giving them a stick to crack my head with? Oh yeah, the black people, they're terrible niggas, they're terrible. You may say it, but it doesn't make it so. Because black people out there are making a difference. They're making a difference in their communities. They're making a difference in their cities. They're making a difference in their state and ultimately their country. And what anybody says to them, no matter what the color of their face is, doesn't make it so if you're working to the greater cause. So we as a black people need to stop being whinging gas bags ourselves and get up off our asses and dance to a good tune. As James Brown would say, get on the good foot. And then no bastard can say anything about you with an air of truth if you know you're doing the right thing. We got to wake up, folks. Because this ain't getting no better. Martin King, Fred Shuttlesworth, Abernathy, Jesse Jackson when he was, you know, halfway normal back then. All of these people marched, Rosa Parks. And when they marched with conviction. They didn't go out there to be opportunists or get on the news media or, you know, with their own agenda. They went out there with purpose. And they got things done because the people back then were a lot different from these today. When they said boycott, they meant it. They boycotted the buses, and it held. Why? Because those brothers and sisters back there meant what they said. They were going to walk, they were going to carpool, they were going to ride horses, they were going to crawl before they bowed to the crap that they were dealt. And it held. And those bus companies lost millions. Do we have that kind of conviction today? No, just a bunch of whinging gas bags. If you don't like the way something is done, then you stop letting them do it to you. Bus prices today are skyrocketing. But are you going to get off the bus or are you going to walk to work? Hell no, you're not going to do it. You're a whinging gas bag. Do you have the conviction of those people back in the 50s and 60s? No. And that's why they're going to keep doing it to you. Get off your knees and make it right for yourself and stop whinging about what white folks have done. Because in some cases, white folks, green folks, plaid folks, chartreuse folks can't do any more to you than you allow them to do. Don't let them do it. Folks out there, you already know that we have a target on our heads. So why would you even look like you're engaging in something illegal? Why would you give them a stick to crack your head with? You gotta start thinking. As they say, knowing is half the battle. If I know that the stovetop is hot, and I know that it's hot because if you've got an electric stove, you see the coils red hot. If you've got a gas stove, you see the open flame. Then why in the hell would I put my hand on it? And oh, that stove burned me. No, I burned myself because I should have had common sense to know not to put my hand on a hot stove. Well, if you know that these police officers are out there and you know, they want to kill you, don't give them a reason. Don't give them a reason. Yeah, you may have to alter your lifestyle a little bit, but at least you'll have a lifestyle to alter, you know, down the road. But if you give a person a stick to crack your head with, then that's your fault. I would like to think that we are better than this. You know, we have this jackass in the White House that doesn't care about Americans, period. He's shown that time and time again, but especially with his recent debacle about letting all these foreigners in here. All these Americans are still on the street, and he's letting Americans fall by the wayside so he can take care of his foreigners. And he damn sure doesn't care about black people. I remember when he first got in there, my president is black. That was the catchphrase, my president is black. I don't hear that anymore. More like my president is an ass. So, you know, you take the fair as you find it. But hopefully, you know, somebody somewhere will wake up and see that every other nationality has come to this country and prospered. Black owned, you know, different ethnicities own stores, they own building complexes, they own conglomerates, they own oil factories, they own television stations, they own radio stations, they have computer, you know, interests. They, you know, what do we own as a people? And we've been here perhaps longer than any of them. Some of these Asians have just come over here, let's say, in the past 30 years. And they're prospering more than we are. You know, yesterday was December 7th, at the time I'm recording this video. And we were looking at the day that will live on in infamy, the attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese. Well, I was reading an article about 20 years ago, I guess, and it said, would we ever have to fear the Japanese coming back to bomb Pearl Harbor again? And someone said, why would they come back and bomb it? They now own it. Now, isn't that profound? We have been over here longer than any other mother's son. And yet, not only do we remain the most hated group of people in the United States, yeah, the most hated. Because how many other people do you see getting killed by cops or whatever? You don't. The most hated and the least moved of any of these groups. We're stagnant in a cesspool of crap. Well, it's time to come out of the crap, you know, bathe ourselves, and then wrap ourselves in success as a people, not individually, but as a group effort to make things better for not only the nation, but ourselves. We talk about Trayvon and Michael and Eric and this other little kid. But let's think about this. I'd like to see the ratio of white cops killing black folks as opposed to black folks killing white. I bet you it's going to be like this. You know, it's going to be very high on the white killing black side, because that's all you hear. Let's try to change it. Let's try to make it better. You folks out there, you black folks out there with means, maybe it's time for you to consider giving back and trying to boost who we are as a people. Not just sit up on your money pile and say, well, hey, I made it. Because if you make it and you leave the other black folks out in the cold, have you really made it? Can you sit there on your money pile and see your black brothers and sisters being tortured and killed and say that you made it? Can you see the rise of everybody else while your people stay in the muck and the mire and say that you made it? It's time to band together and build something for ourselves, because nobody's going to give it to us. In order to have respect, you have to earn it. And we need to start earning and stop being whinging gas bags ourselves about what the white folks are doing to us, and start acting upon what we as black people can do for ourselves. And on that score, I'll end it. And I'll see you next time on the Phil Taylor Jones Show. I thank you very much for being supporters. And if you'd like to become a subscriber, you know what to do. We will appreciate it greatly. So why don't you get on back out there and get those presents and, you know, do what's good for your family. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next time on the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Bye-bye.